You're listening to the Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power right here on WPGS 1330 AM on your dial. On the website, www.wcmagazine.net. We'd be remiss if we didn't begin with our condolences and our prayers, sending our prayers to our sick and shut out. All of our, you know what I said, shut out this year. I said shut.
I know what you meant, brother.
With our, as we do every Wednesday, let's start with Ena. You know, that's like the A in the alphabet, and then Loris, Wampee, Maryland.
Did you skip Allentown?
I was gonna get to Allentown.
Oh, you have to say Allentown.
I was gonna get
If
to Allentown.
not first, that has to be this near the top.
See, I was gonna get to Allentown.
Okay, all right.
If you would just give me a,
I just don't want you to get a phone call. You know.
I tell you what, I won't forget the Capitol. But we're gonna get the Capitol.
We'll get to the Capitol
We'll get
later.
to the Capitol.
Exactly.
Right here. Bucksport. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland. That's in Maryland. Little River, Big River, Wampee.
Bucksville, Toddsville, Plantersville, Carvers Bay,
Wow.
Georgetown.
Paul's Island, Lower Whiteville, Merle's Inlet.
Yes.
Okay. What was that?
Wampee, Poplar.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you. Green Sea.
Uh,
Our special guest can chime in because he should know all
yeah,
of
he's
the
in all
areas.
the places. He's all around it.
Some
He's
days
all,
it's
look,
for him.
he's all around in Horry County, but they want you in Georgetown County too.
No.
They want you over there too. Not for employment, but they want you.
You never know now. You
Yeah.
never know.
They do your famous involved. Well, anyway, forgive us if we didn't call out your jurisdiction. Oh, Allentown.
Okay, you get
Okay,
two shout outs. You just covering yourself. That's all.
Yeah, I
You just covering
better
yourself.
cover myself. Say Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Paul's Island. You know.
Did you say Little River?
I did say Little
What
River
about
and
that?
Big River.
Okay, all right.
And Big River.
All right.
Lowers, Fankley,
Gresham.
yeah.
Marion County.
Green Sea.
Thank you for listening in.
Green Sea,
Yeah, Green Sea.
the notorious Highway
Taylor City,
501,
Whiteville.
378, Race Path.
That's right.
Getting
1,
there.
2.
Oh, 1 and 2. That's
One
right.
and-
Race Path,
all
2,
of them.
Myrtle Beach,
Yeah,
and all that
mhm.
good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, all right. Well, like I said, forgive us. Give us a call if we didn't call your jurisdiction. But the capital. I have to get to the capital.
Capital of Conway.
Capital of Conway. You know what that is, Chief?
I do. Yes, sir. We're right in the middle of it.
Oh, Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill.
He's right in the middle of it.
Sugar Hill. That's right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if we didn't call your jurisdiction out or your area, please give us a call. Area code 843-248-6365 or area code 843-248-2890. We are fortunate today to have with us our Horry County Police Chief Joseph Hill, and tell you the reason why we got him. Because I'm looking on the internet, looking at all these things that he's doing out there and all these press conferences. So I figured we're gonna grab him while we can. So we were fortunate enough. Did I make this appointment about last year?
No, sir. You called me yesterday and said, can you be here tomorrow?
That's
I'm
right.
always at your beck and call.
Put him on blast, Chief Hill. Put him on blast. Mm-hmm.
He went to school in Virginia, by the way. So, well, welcome to the program,
Thank you.
Chief Hill. And we're just making a little fun of it in the beginning here, but we have a lot of serious stuff to talk about today, right?
Yes, sir.
And that includes our safety in our homes and around. Something. Well, if everybody was looking at the promotion, you know, one of the things that we mentioned on there was the neighborhood app, and the functions of it and the purposes of it and the magnitude of safety that could be benefited
Yes.
from the use of this. However, there's a caveat to that, and because of the fact that we would be talking a little ahead of time if we really went to the extension of this. I'd like to defer to the chief if you could give us some conditions as
Sure.
to why you can't.
Yeah, I was premature in my excitement, and I am excited about the possibilities. And we're going to be making a joint press announcement with the City of Myrtle Beach, February 5th. And so I'm going to hold my excitement and my information sharing with your listeners until then.
Right.
But I would want your listeners to stay tuned and listen to the news media as we roll out this very important enhancement to our community safety. But since we are talking about apps, Horry County Police Department has its own app. We've had it for about a year and a half now, and you can download it from the App Store or the Play Store. And that app allows you to submit crime tips. It allows you to get information from 311. If you need help raising your child and you're having some issues with your child, that 311 app has state resources available to you.
Right.
If you find yourself homeless or you need help with your utility bills, that 311 app provides all of that, and that's contained in our app. And it gives information about crime that's happening in your community. And occasionally we'll send out through that Horry County Police app information on active crime scenes so we can keep you safe. It may be, hey, just be aware there's a crime issue in your community. We're actively investigating. Shelter in place, which means stay in your home.
Right.
Or it could be we are chasing a suspect that they've gotten loose in your community. Be on the lookout for X, Y, and Z. So we want our community to be informed. We want to be transparent as a police department. That's one of our ways that we do that.
Right. You mentioned about the press conference, and when will that press conference take
That's
place?
going to be February the 5th. I don't have a,
5th.
yes, sir. I don't have a date. I mean, sorry, a time on that. But February the 5th, myself and Chief Prock of the Myrtle Beach Police Department
Right.
will be discussing this community enhancement, safety enhancement with our public, and we're excited about it. And out of my overexcitement, I kind of got ahead of the game, so I apologize for that. But February the 5th, stay tuned.
Why? Overexcitement, that means that it's going to be something good.
Oh yes, it's going to be good for the community.
Good for the community.
Absolutely.
So you just can't share just a tad, just a
My partners
tip,
and colleagues
baby.
in Myrtle Beach would just not buy me lunch ever again. And I can't afford to skip a meal, so let's go ahead and wait. February 5th.
Oh man, February
coming.
5th.
Yeah.
February 5th is next Wednesday. Is that next Wednesday? Next Tuesday. That's next Tuesday, isn't it?
If you say so.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
it's Tuesday.
It's just
Yeah.
the
My
Tuesday.
birthday's on the 7th, that's Thursday, I got to hint y'all.
There you go. Oh,
Oh, can't forget that.
He dropped.
Well, he dropped the bomb.
it.
What'd you say it was on the 7th?
The 7th,
PJ?
baby, 7th, 2 days later.
Oh,
Birthday.
What happens on the 7th?
My birthday, man.
wow.
21, man, be legal to drink.
Wow.
Do you care to tell to say your age?
No, thank you, sir.
All right.
Brother Elwood will pry.
No, thank
He
you.
will dig deep.
This is news media, right? The news media.
Everything's news.
You're listening
That's right.
to the Whitmore Community Magazine, Our Power. Right here at WPGS 1330 AM on your dial. Should we say who the engineer is? That's engineering this video today, or
No, we should not.
we should not?
No.
Look, she's already said.
Yeah. If you haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, you haven't figured it out. Say it again, April. April. I mean,
Yeah, April, go ahead and say that.
Thank you.
so, on a more serious note, we any particular communities that are designated as priority,
All of them are, to be honest with you, and not to be,
they'll be dismissed in a simultaneous manner like that.
well,
Well, not dismissed.
everybody in the community is important. Every community is important. We have communities that are plagued with crime.
Right.
And I get calls from mothers of, and I'm dealing with a mom now, I don't want to mention her name, God bless her. She calls me every week to get updates on her son's murder. And we're making progress on it.
Right.
But, I wish I could tell her, hey, we've apprehended the suspect involved in your son's murder. We're not there yet, but I'm confident through my detectives. We're going to make that phone call one day. But we have communities, Poplar, Fremont. These communities need additional attention from law enforcement and from the community and from government. Can't do it by ourselves.
Right.
And what we're trying to do this summer, we didn't get a chance to do it last summer because we had planned these community outreach events, and the hurricane took us off our game. It really did. But we're back on our game, and we're going to plan something for the spring where we're going to go out to the community and we're going to provide, health screenings, job placement training. Where can you get a job? What's available in the community? We're going to have free stuff, giveaways. I've got Mr. Salty. I'm very proud of that relationship. that has come to us as we've formed a partnership. So we're going to provide ice cream for the kids and for some of the adults, as long as it doesn't get out of hand.
I love ice cream.
But we all do. I'm the first one at the door when that man pulls up in that truck. But we want to make sure that the kids understand that we are there to help them.
Right.
We're not the bad guys or bad girls. We are part of the community. And that's a way for us to bridge that gap with the community and hopefully get some folks who are interested in working, get them out there into the work community and become a productive citizen. So we're going to do that. And we're going to partner with a lot of resources out in the community, Coast RTA, South Carolina Works, some churches out there. So we're excited about that as well.
So, can you go into some specifics as to how your collaboration or your partnering with these different entities, for example, like Coast RTA? What are some examples?
Yeah, so here's a big partnership with Coast RTA. Brian Piziak, who is a phenomenal individual, but he's also the director of Coast RTA. And I went to him about 2 years ago and I said, hey, Brian, we are struggling to get people from these outlying communities into the work center, which is Myrtle Beach.
Right.
And right now, back then, we didn't have a regular bus service out there. So Brian, he put his team together, got some federal grants, helped with the county, and they had 3 bus routes leaving Bucksport, going in and out of Bucksport, in and out of Fremont and the Longs area, to get folks down to the work center, or even get folks into shopping areas so they can do grocery shopping. They may not have transportation. We have been doing this for almost 2 years now. We will continue to do it as long as the money is there.
Is it working? Is it working well?
It is not. I'll just be honest with you.
I had to ask that.
And I appreciate you asking, and I was going to just be upfront and honest. Empty buses go in, empty buses come out. So we've got to do a better job of sharing the routes with people and getting people on the bus, if that makes sense. And we're also partnering with SC Works because there's a lot of job opportunities out there.
Yeah.
There's free training programs on welding, HVAC.
Man, I'm telling you.
Come on. I mean, hey, when I leave law enforcement, I may be a welder because they make a lot more money.
It's enormous.
It is.
It really is. And I'm blown away by the opportunities, the missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Certain neighborhoods can't get these opportunities themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or Georgetown Technical College, CCU, they're all partner in this. They have great programs, and we just need to get folks into those programs to enhance, enrich their lives.
Do you think we can coalesce some local leadership or some entity, maybe the church group or something, or to find a strategy for which to fill those buses up that are sent in by Coast RTA?
What is frustrating to us, but it's reality, is that the church is no longer the cornerstone in the Black community. It's just not. Our churches are aging out. We're trying to get young people into church, and ministers are doing the best they can, but it's not like it was when I was growing up.
It's getting scary.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
is.
Scary.
So we've got to find other ways to get our young people informed, engaged, and involved. So, we're wide open. We don't know it all as law enforcement, so we're listening to the community to kind of give us that feedback. This whole plan with Coast RTA bringing in these bus routes came from an incident where a young man was shot and killed by the name of Moody out in Fremont. And I was talking with another individual, one of his good friends who was also shot, but he survived. And I asked him, I says, hey, I'm new to the community. What are the issues? And he told me, he says, look, I don't have any structure after I left high school. I don't have any transportation. I don't want to work at McDonald's. Not that that's a bad thing, but for me, that's not what I want to do. And I don't have any mentors and coaches when I have questions, those tough questions to ask. Should I do X, Y, and Z? I ask the wrong people, the folks that don't have good advice for me.
Yeah.
So coaching and mentoring is something else that we want to foster. But that whole bus route thing came out of that conversation I had with that young man.
Yeah, all that you just said is quite disturbing. Yeah, I'm sure to most of our listeners who are listening and they care and they want to do something about this, just brought up. There's no connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's quite disturbing.
Yeah.
So I would make the appeal to our local, I say leadership. I'll just stop. So I say leadership, and that encompasses, the pastors, the heads of these nonprofit organizations, so forth, to really take heed and just look at this as a crisis.
It is.
Okay?
Yeah.
Look at this is a crisis.
Yeah, it leads into a lot of things. These young men and women they have potential, and they lose that potential when they're convicted of crimes that they just cannot recover from.
But it's the young men that, to me, that seem to be the most impacted. Am I correct about that?
That's true. You look at the numbers, it's black males and males of color that are most impacted. One, by this opioid epidemic. Not so much the victims, but involved in the trade of the illegal substance.
Wow.
Yeah. When you look at the fatalities in and around the country, but more importantly in Horry County, it's white males and white females that are dying at a disproportionate rate.
Right.
And it is the people of color, the males of color, that we are arresting in this.
For distribution and
Absolutely.
sales?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Must be big money. Well,
Yeah. But there's big time involved in it also.
Yeah.
And we just
Has
you
that
know,
displaced the distribution of coke and heroin?
well, heroin and fentanyl is synonymous. Cocaine is also in there, but heroin and fentanyl, and it's all dependent on the street value of the drug. Right now, we're seeing a resurgence of methamphetamine. Again, we're looking at the white population that is victim of this methamphetamine resurgence, and we're seeing it down in the Socastee area. So drug usage is very cyclical.
Right.
It kind of comes and go. The factor now killing our people is the fentanyl. Fentanyl is coming across the southern border. It's coming from China. Fentanyl is a synthetic drug that's mixed into the heroin. And chemists are not doing this. These are drug dealers and criminals that
Who
are
don't
mixing
know what they're
They
doing.
don't know,
Don't
and they
know.
don't care.
They don't care.
And they're killing our people. We are going after them if they're involved in selling drugs that result in the death. The Attorney General of South Carolina has been very supportive. She's leading the charge on this, and we are charging them with murder once we determine who's involved in that. And so we're sending folks to jail for a very long time. We just had a big bust probably about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, we saw that on the news.
That was phase 2 of a multi-phase approach to eliminating crime and the fear of crime in our community. And we're going after the high-level drug dealers, human traffickers, the whole bit. We're not stopping.
You know, I don't think like human trafficking is looked upon as a big deal like the drugs. But is it a bigger deal?
And to your daughter or your son or your niece or nephew is falls victim to that. Yeah, it is a big deal.
And what do they do? They kidnap them?
No, it's various ways. I'll give
Is
you
this plain prostitution?
in some forms. Human trafficking and sex trafficking are synonymous. Human trafficking can also be used in the trades. We had a case here in Conway where someone was working for low pay, abused by the manager of this restaurant, had some cognitive disabilities.
Right.
You can look at that as being human trafficking.
Oh, okay.
So really, human trafficking kind of falls down like this. I had a real life case, 2 young ladies out of Virginia. It just so happens the guy that called me and alerted me to this was a friend of mine. So he called me and says, hey, would you look for these 2 young ladies? They stole one of my cars from my business. They are the daughters of one of my employees. They're headed to Myrtle Beach. Well, Myrtle Beach is a big place. They were actually arrested in Georgetown and put into foster care until the parents could get down there. They eloped from foster care, escaped from foster care. We found them in a hotel down here off of 501. Our human trafficking task force, which I'll talk about a little bit, found them in a hotel with 2 guys. And the intention was going to be to take these 2 15 and 16-year-old females and get them hooked on dope and then put them out there on the street. So that's how human trafficking works. They'll get them at the airport, they'll get them at the bus station, they'll get them when they've been kicked out of their house, they'll get them when they're runaways, and they're looking for that support. And these predators will promise them the world. And they fall victim to these predators, and they're in the game. And once you're hooked on heroin the first time changes your chemical makeup in the brain, and you become addicted to it. First time. Not like cocaine, it's not like marijuana.
I thought crack was that description of that.
Crack is nothing compared to heroin. Nothing. Say again? Yeah. So yeah, it is frightening, and it's scary, and it can happen to anyone. The number 2 guy in, I forget what tech company it was, but it's a big tech company, was found on his yacht, overdosed on heroin. Now, we're talking about someone who's the number 2 in a tech company on a yacht. So it's just not folks in inner city America, this is everybody's affected by this. And that's why the federal government has thrown so many resources towards it.
The one question I have about what is going on with that particular epidemic is, how is it getting here? I know you mentioned the southern border and, you know, things like that, but, you know, the reality of what we see on the streets is that the average everyday person who's selling it is not the person who's bringing it in.
No.
You know,
Yeah,
that, I mean,
right.
that's it.
That's for sure.
So, you know, is there anything being done at a higher level to try
Yes.
and curb that activity?
Yeah, you have dope that's coming across the border, both southern border and even in your northern border coming from Canada, because the southern border is garnering so much attention now. It's getting harder and harder to bring dope across the southern border because of the whole debate on the wall.
Right.
And the troops and the law enforcement that's been shoved down there. So it's coming across the Canadian border.
Mm-hmm.
It's also coming across in commercial containers. So they're shipping across cars and shoes and pairs of jeans, but intermixed in that shipment is weighted heroin or mixed fentanyl. And so it's coming across in so many different ways. So those big dealer networks are then filter it down through New Jersey, Atlanta, Miami, Florida, and then it gets here to our street level dealers. So we're getting kilos of heroin and fentanyl off the street, but that's just a drop in the bucket. You know, the big stuff is coming in. Federal government, DEA, FBI, everybody's involved in trying to identify these networks and shut them down.
And I guess, how do you guys feel that, how much you all are doing? I'm trying to say rate yourself.
We're doing all we can with our limited resources.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
we're very
right.
slim, streamlined police department here in the county. The biggest thing is the deaths that are occurring. The coroner, Robert Edge, poor man, is dealing with so much. And at one time, last week, 2 weeks ago, we had 8 fentanyl overdoses that resulted in deaths in Horry County.
Wow.
And so this is going on and on and on. And these are numbers on a piece of paper, but these are boyfriends and husbands and fathers and mothers, sisters and brothers, and it equates to a human life. It's frustrating. We can't seem to stop the cycle. And it's taking a toll on my officers. I mean, we've got kids that get into their mom and dad's stash, if you will, and that's why we carry Narcan around. And folks have criticized us saying, why are you carrying Narcan around? These people making a conscious decision to put a needle in their arm, that's all fine and dandy, but these are human beings we're talking about. And we are on this earth as police officers to preserve life. We are. And so we're going to do all we can. And yeah, the choices they made are their choices, but if I can save that life and maybe they can get some help, then that's what we're going to do.
I'll tell you, I'm not finished with that yet, but we're going to take a commercial.
Okay.
We want to come back to that because we have new revelations here that you just spit out, and I think everybody needs to hear them. We're also going to talk about, since we talked about a shortage of officers, talk about minority recruiting. Okay.
Here's the thing: we're trying to reduce crime and the fear of crime. And folks ask me, "What are you talking about? The fear of crime?" We have communities that, you know, they don't see a lot of crime, but they're scared to death because they see stuff on the media and they read things on the internet, and what they read on the internet is gospel to them, even though it may not be true.
Right.
So we try to get out in the community and talk to them about what's really happening in your community. That's why we put our stuff on our website and a lot of stuff on our apps. Here's what's really going on in your community. That fear of crime is even worse than being a victim of crime, because in a sense you are a victim of crime. If you're scared to leave your house,
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
the
afraid to
victim.
walk to your car,
The victim.
and we have to change that. That's what we're working towards.
Yeah. I get upset about that. Well, I can't leave my house, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and gotta have all the lights on and all that kind of stuff. You know, everybody does it. And so I'm not saying anything that should not be revealed about,
Sure.
you know, about homes and stuff like that. Yeah, you can't leave your garage up for a few hours. That's upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it really, as long as we think that we can do something about it, you know, we should.
Yes.
Okay, we should. Before we departed for commercials a few minutes ago, I mentioned that did want to talk a little bit more about that, but the opioid crisis. But we can get back to that. But I just want to touch on the recruiting, minority recruiting now, and the same issue I always bring up with any law enforcement official that we have in here, even our Conway Police Department. I myself personally, I just want to know what is the issue that we can't seem to to get some and then retain them.
Retention for officers of color is less of an issue than actually hiring them, getting in the door. If we can get them in the door and get them through the process, which is, it's an arduous process. It's very detailed because we want the best of the best wearing that badge. And we've had this conversation before.
Right, exactly.
And I will not settle for anything less than the best wearing a badge of the Warren County Police Department. And that sometimes means we're going to run short. But I think we can also do a better job in where we go to recruit those folks, like historical black colleges and universities, HBCUs. The military is one of our big recruiting tools. And I believe that we can be very successful with that. But here's some of the challenges for us. Our starting salary is $39,000 roughly. 39,000. Myrtle Beach, I think it's 44. You've got the state police that pays more than we do, and I know the county council is looking at that and trying to come up with a plan to address that. That's a big issue. The narrative against law enforcement nationwide, and you've seen it play out in some of these shootings that we've had. We had one of the deadliest years for law enforcement last year, and we're on track to do the same thing this year. We just had 5 police officers shot at in a drug raid in the United States 2 days ago. We had Florence, which was horrible. Yeah, so, you know, we've got this narrative going on, we've got this breakdown in society, and we're at the forefront of that because we're uniformed police officers. Everybody knows who we are, we don't know who anyone is. I was just out in Vegas for the SHOT Show last week, and I was near the Mandalay Bay where the shooting took place, and that's a potential to happen anywhere in the United States. And who's going to rush in when everybody's rushing out is public safety law enforcement. And so what young man or woman wants to come into a profession that is as dangerous as ours, it's difficult. It takes a very special person to want to put on that badge and serve the public and give up your life possibly for a complete stranger. You know? Now we do it. It's a calling. I firmly believe the good Lord puts us here. And certainly it's not for the monies because we want to make our community better. And, you know, especially in the African American community, a lot of folks have very strong opinions about law enforcement, but who are you going to call at 2 o'clock in the morning if somebody's breaking into your house? And who's going to respond? A police officer, white or black, male or female, Asian, it doesn't matter. We're coming. And we don't even know you. And we're willing to lay our lives down on the line to make sure that you get to spend another day on this earth. So that's a very powerful thing that law enforcement has to do. So we've got to recruit the right people, so it's difficult. And when I talk to chiefs around the country, they're all suffering from the same thing that we're suffering from. And I was out in Vegas, and they're suffering from it, and they pay $60,000 a year finding the right person to wear that badge. So, yeah, it's a challenge.
You mentioned ex-military. There should be a lot of them in this area.
Sure, absolutely, and there are. But here's the challenge for us. What we have found is that former military, you know, corporate America wants them bad. Amazons, the Googles, Ford Motor Company, they're going to get jobs paying way more than what I can pay them and a whole lot less dangerous. A lot of them coming with security clearance, and the federal government's hiring them back as contractors. And I can't compete with $60,000 pay salaries. I just can't. No. Now I do get some that come, and right now I'm pleased to announce we're down to 6 vacancies in the police department. We have an authorized strength of 244. We should be right around 450 with the number of people that are in Horry County full time.
Right.
We've got about 315,000 full-time residents. And if you look at the national models,
Horry County?
Horry County, absolutely unincorporated.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, look down 501 Carolina Forest. They're building houses and communities every day. And you figure the average person comes down, there's 2 people in that house. Maybe more. Families are starting to move down here. It's a great place to live, work, and play, and raise a family. Why wouldn't you want to come down here? But we've got to meet the infrastructure needs of that growth. And we struggle to do that. But anyway, so we're trying to recruit. We're down to 7 vacancies. We've got a mixture of diversity in that: male, female, African American, Latino. For the first time, we're starting to really hone in our Latino brothers and sisters to put on the badge because we have language barriers that we need to overcome. But it's difficult. It really is. But, you know, hey, life is difficult. This job is difficult, and we just keep pushing.
Well, you think it would be beneficial if you were to go into some specifics regarding their salary. For example, when you say 39,000 a year, that encompasses probably good health insurance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about the fringe benefits.
Right, all the fringes.
Mhm.
That could be equivalent to about another $5,000-6,000 a year, right?
Yeah, we have a formula we use. We talk about all that. We talk about the vacation days you get. We talk about your take-home car. That's worth about $7,000 a year when you think about to and from gas.
Right, right.
Um,
But is that free gas for the car?
Yeah, you pay for that, taxpayer. Thank you very much. Yes, and that's to and from work, while you're on patrol, and then back home again. Yeah. Now, where I came from in Virginia, I had to drive my personal car to the station or precinct, change all my gear out of my personal car, jump into my cruiser, and I don't know who drove it before I did, and there's probably, donut pieces in the seat. I'm being funny. They need to be cleaned out. And then I jump in that cruiser, and I drive it around for 12 hours, and then I put it back and somebody else gets it. We have the luxury, thanks to council, that we have take-home cars, which also is a force multiplier. So I have an officer going home or coming into work.
Right.
They can stop and help another officer or can handle a call that may have gone out, a priority one call. So there's a lot of benefits to coming to Horry County. Someone asked me this the other day, and I couldn't write this down and think of it. It just came to me. They were like, "Yeah, I am going to another agency because the grass is greener." But my response to him was, "But we have more of it." Because we're 1,200 square miles. The agency he's going to is maybe 17 square miles. We police a larger community. We police a very diverse community. It's 1,200 square miles of policing that we do in Horry County. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I've got one patrol officer out west that patrols 101 square miles. Now, a lot of it's farmland, agricultural, but there's houses and trailers and residences
It
in
used
there.
to be a safe area, but
Yeah.
not safe anymore.
Well, here's the thing. It's a main drug corridor that comes in from North
That's what
Carolina.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It used to be a safe area to patrol, but
Yeah, you get mad because a farmer may have had somebody poach some corn cobs or, maybe try to steal some stuff out of the garage.
Out of the garage.
But, those days are over with.
You got a dope deal out.
Yes.
Living in the garage now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, wow, and it's, I don't want to make fun of that, but that's the reality.
It is reality. And it keeps me up at night because it's an officer safety issue. If an officer gets into even a car wreck, 20 minutes at best is their help is away. So if they're into a fight, if they're into, some bad stuff that happens,
Right.
their backup can be as much as 20 minutes or longer away. The average fight lasts about 3 minutes. Somebody's giving up, or somebody's going to get hurt, or somebody's going to die.
You got statistics on the average fight.
Oh yeah,
Lasts about 3 minutes.
It's all about the data.
Like
When it comes to educating your children, I'm going to leave that up to the parents. Is when it's time. You know your kids better than I do. There's not a set age where you can start to have that really tough conversation with them. And boys are different than girls. So maturity level, you know your children better than I do. The public school system here in Horry County is solid. It's a great program. And they have programs in place to talk about drug awareness, gang awareness, and now human trafficking is also being intertwined with that lesson. There's stuff on the website that you can go to, and that 311 is just phenomenal. It has so many different resources on there. You can look on it, you can go online to 311, or just type in education on human trafficking. Be careful with the sites you go to. Go to some of the national governmental sites. They have some of the best information and research on how to have that very tough conversation with your child. I remember having that conversation, and my kids were growing up, human trafficking was not part of that, but the drug certainly was. Gang violence and firearms, bullying, all of that was very important and relevant. And now we just keep adding more and more relevant stuff we have to educate our kids in, because if you don't do the education at home, they're going to be falsely educated on the streets. A lot of times they're falsely educated in the schools from their peers.
Right.
Bad information is passed along. So get ahead of that and have that conversation and pay attention to your kids. You know what? My kids used to get so mad. I would go through their room, and with the military, I would toss it. I would take out the clothes in the drawers, take the sheets off the bed, flip the mattress, and my kids and my wife used to get very upset with me until I explained to her why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's my room. That's my house. You live here with me. You don't pay any rent, so you have no say in the matter. My kids to this day appreciate that now, and we joke about it.
Because they're going to tell their kids the same thing.
Absolutely. You learn from your mom and dad, and it's harsh, but you have to do that because you have to be involved. because it's too late once they put that needle in their arm. It really is. And it's going to be a hard road to get them and keep them safe and bring them back from the brink of disaster. And unfortunately, and I've got many moms that I communicate with, it didn't happen. And now they buried their son or daughter. I don't want to see that happen to anyone. So be in your children's lives, be nosy, don't be their friend, be their parent. They're going to get mad at you, but at the end of the day, the kids are going to appreciate it. My daughter, she's now 27, married, she's overseas with her husband. But I remember having this tough conversation with her at 16. And I was like, do you want me to stop being a parent? Do you want me to stop being hard with you? And she told me, she said, no, continue to stay on me, because if not, I'm going to be in trouble. That was powerful for me.
Well, yeah, that's enough right there.
And I couldn't believe my daughter had said that. And she's a wonderful citizen now. Both my kids are. But, Dad was the mean dad. Dad was the grumpy dad.
It's always that way, man.
Hey, and Mom was on him too now.
I was called a steamy dad. Steamy.
Yeah, hey, I've got to keep my kids out of the graveyard.
Steamy
and out of
dad,
the
is
jail.
he on? Your steamy dad on?
Oh, yeah.
My son would say, yeah, he's on.
Yep, but your kids are probably doing well now because of it. So,
yeah, really, really proud of
and that's the thing we have to do, especially as African American parents, because it's tough on our kids. We have a lot of single parents. I was raised by a single parent, and it doesn't mean that your kids are not going to grow up to do well. I'm a prime example of that. My mom struggled every day with me, and I wasn't a bad kid, but the potential was there. The influence, outside influence, was there. Luckily for me, I had mentors in the community that were gangsters and doing things, but they always told me, do as I say, not as I do. Don't live my life. Don't go through the trials and tribulations I went through. And I remember, I won't mention his name, but a guy I looked up to, couldn't read, couldn't write. I remember at 15, he had me do his first job application. I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? He can't read or write. Everybody reads and writes. No, that's not true. So from that lesson, I learned I've got to be better than my environment.
I think if anybody has any call about, the challenges about minority recruitment, that's a big issue. But they just don't talk about it a lot in the neighborhood. I don't know if they talk about it in churches or not, but on the street, it's just a thing that people don't know who to say it to, who they can go to, about I don't see any minorities in certain areas, something like that.
Yeah.
Especially in the police department.
Yeah, we can talk about it because the moms, the grandmothers, the dads, that's going to be our biggest recruiter, or not.
Right.
Because if a son or daughter comes and say, Mom, I think I want to be, an Horry County police officer or a police officer anywhere. No, I don't want you to do that because it's dangerous. My mom didn't want me to play football because it was dangerous. Now, she's not alive today.
It is dangerous.
If she saw what I was doing now, she'd lose her mind. But, parents have got to encourage their kids to be good at whatever they do and do what their heart drives them to do. This is a calling. So if they're calling for a young African-American kid or a young person at all, is it going to public safety or law enforcement, I think as parents, we owe it to ourselves to encourage that behavior. And we talk about the money, but you know what? I've never looked back, and I've been doing this job for 35 years now. And I left a job that was paying double what I was making when I joined the police department because the good Lord knew what I was going to be good at, and that's helping my community out. And so, although I was making less money than I was working for a private contractor in Washington, D.C., I've never been happier. And I've always been, I wake up every day happy to be a police officer. And so it's more than just the money. And I can provide for my family, I can go on vacations, I can do all the things I want to do. My cops drive, decent cars. They struggle a little bit, but they love the job. It's more than just the money. It's the satisfaction of knowing that you can make positive change in your community. You can argue about it, you can discuss it at the barbershop, but if you don't do anything about it, you're not making any difference.
There's always a lot of talk. Okay, you're right. They, especially in barbershops and all those places, but people, when they leave the barbershop or when they leave whatever place they are, and when they were complaining about it or criticizing, they don't do anything about it.
Right.
So that's the connection I think that's missing. But there's a way to do that. I just don't know. There's a way to get them to. Earlier we mentioned the religious institutions could say more probably in the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How would they say it without crossing a line that of church versus state? One time it wasn't that in heaven. That wasn't an issue a long time ago. But today you got politics.
Yeah, no issue at all. If a reverend wants to stand up and say, "Hey, consider an opportunity in public safety, police, fire, EMS. That's what the church is supposed to do. You know, drive home those solid careers, especially in our community. Those are solid careers. After 25 years, guess what? I get a check for the rest of my life. Nowhere else, well, not nowhere else, very limited companies in the United States says that we're going to give you a pension for the rest of your life.
That's right.
You got to have a 401k,
It runs
save,
around.
hope that you do it, right? Me or law enforcement, no. At the end of your 25 years, at least right now, you get a check every month for just sitting home, provided you survive that career. So we can encourage our young people to look at that as a career. And I love my community and I love my job. So when you get someone who has passion that gets in front of a college group that's getting ready to graduate and they're trying to figure out how they're going to pay that college bill
Right.
and what career they're going to do, if they get somebody up there who's energized and charged, it also looks like them. They're like, you know what? Maybe Horry County Police Department is the place for me. So we're trying to get in front of these communities and these college communities, these military folks that are getting ready to be discharged and say, consider us as a career field.
So what are the issues surrounding our inability to go to HBCUs and
Nothing, just money.
just money?
And I'm finding the money, and guess where I'm getting the money from? I am using seized money from drug dealers and criminals to fund these recruiting trips,
Wow.
right? What better way to give back to the communities,
Right.
take from the predators that have plagued our communities,
That's right.
you know, and that's what we're doing. So we're going to Howard and Hampton and some of the schools in the state of South Carolina State to say, hey, look, consider us as an option. And hopefully we'll be successful this year.
But probably every other entity, every other county in South Carolina is probably doing the same
They
thing.
are. Yeah, this is not a new idea. You know, I'm piggybacking
That's
on
competition right there.
That's a lot. We go to Coastal Carolina, Horry Georgetown Tech. I've got 11 interns in right now from Horry Georgetown Tech and Coastal Carolina, and we're teaching them about the inner workings of law enforcement. Unfortunately, I've got just 2 out of the 11 that want to be local law enforcement. Everybody else wants to be federal agents or CSI.
Well,
That's
you know,
all.
that's an ambition. I mean, it's,
It is, and I don't fault them for that. But what I'm trying to do is say, hey, look, give us a shot. Give me 3 years. Try it out for 3 years. Normally, I'll keep you for the rest of your career.
Right.
But if you give me 3 good years and you decide to go to the FBI would take you in a heartbeat if you remember the Horry County Police Department.
You're listening to the Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power right here on WPGS 1330 AM on your dial. On the website, www.wcmagazine.net.